without further ado, you all know, I'm sure, out there, but thank you so much for joining us. José Lizárraga, you are here today. You are a learning scientist, a strategist, a researcher, a designer, an innovator, an entrepreneur, a million titles. You are also a distinguished member of IATIS, and you are a judge for the Anthem Awards. Thank you so much for being a part of our community, and thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I'm doing well. What you failed to mention, of course, is that I pale in comparison to this one right here. If anyone's going to know who, I think that most of the people who are joining today are joining because of our little Rupaul or little dog queen.
Yeah.
But I'm doing well. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, question. So your work spans across so many different spaces in the social impact industry, but you are, as you mentioned, most well known for your social media famous fan favorite, Doggy diva, Rupaul. So as a digital persona that you've created for Rupaul brings so much like joy and happiness to the internet. Talk about how this work fits in to your larger work as an advocate and an activist.
Thank you so much. That is such a fabulous question, because I think, one of the things that people don't know is that the creation of Rupaul, the doggy drag queen, was a very socio-political kind of move that we made. It was very intentional. And, the story that we tell is that, we lived in San Francisco, and when we first adopted our pooch, people kept asking us what their gender was or their sex. And my partner and I, kind of tongue-in-cheek, but also very seriously, would say, no, they haven't decided their gender yet. And people, you would be surprised at how angry people got.
Wow.
Very, very angry when we would say stuff like that. And we actually had a woman once peek under our dog's genital area to see. Yeah. And so, it was kind of like, that was kind of an impetus for us to be like, wow, this whole gender thing and the way that they try to like box us in, like spans across not only with humans, but like with animals. So it was a playful thing that we just started doing. At first we were doing a lot of photoshopping of our dog in terms of drag, and then slowly I got a really nice sewing machine now, but I started making the outfits, and so really it is part of my broader goal in my work of engaging in what we call public pedagogy in a very kind of playful way to keep messing with, but also opening up this conversation around gender and why we get so caught up in compartmentalizing and boxing people and humans and more than humans in these gender boxes. Creating the Rupaul persona has been great because I think people are a little bit more amenable or receptive to stuff when it's a cute dog kind of saying it, rather than me on social media. It's not surprising that our dog has a far greater social media following than I do, but also that they could say kind of like socio-political important social impact things, and it gets well received and it's shared, and we have drag queens sharing her content and so on. So it is really kind of woven into the bigger fabric of what I try to do with my work.
Amazing. So one of your other projects, maybe a little bit more serious, is the Algorithmic Justice League Dragverse AI. Tell us about that. For those who aren't familiar, what is it? How does it work? What's involved? What is that all about?
Yes. So first of all, go to ajl.org. I'm going to drop that link in there, because the Algorithmic Justice League, more broadly, it's this great organization led by Dr. Joy Bulamwini, who many of you might already know. The organization is captured in that in the history of the organization is illustrated in that well-known documentary called Coded Bias, and it's available across platforms. But that organization more broadly is concerned with like educating the broader community about AI harms and how to like address those harms and remediate them and so on. But this specific endeavor or initiative that I'm somewhat in charge of is a drag versus AI initiative. And what we do across workshops and curriculum is create opportunities for people to look at how queer aesthetics and drag can be used to combat biased technologies. And so what's really beautiful about it, and so, you know, the kind of the nitty gritty of the workshop is that you learn about facial recognition technologies, and then you drag yourself up to try to fool the facial recognition technology, right? But it's beyond that. It's not just about glitching the system. It's about recognizing how we can use drag to kind of like push on the boundaries of how systems try to classify us and try to put us in boxes, and also to just uplift the queer community's aesthetic as a way of resistance against those types of systems that try to control us. So it's really cool. Go to ajl.org and you can see some of the materials that we have already created. But we're also we're in the process of creating more collaborations and so on.
That's so cool. There's so many interesting projects kind of in this space right now, folks who are, you know, so many known biases in AI and so many people trying to fight that across race, gender, lots of kind of different spaces. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So you're also a faculty director and principal investigator at the Speculative Fabulation Lab.
Yeah.
You have.
I'm sorry? How many jobs do I have? Yeah, I know I have a lot of jobs. You know, some of it is consulting work, some of it is work full time. This one doesn't. This one, it's the one I'm known most for, but I don't get paid as much for the work that I think the return on investment on Rupaul is a little bit lower. Other than we get, you know, a lot. We spread a lot of joy. But the speculative. The Speculative Fabulation Lab is a lab that I started at the University of Colorado Boulder. And it's a lab that I started during the pandemic because I used to have labs where we'd have making and tinkering. It was a making and tinkering lab where kids, mostly kids from like non-dominant or minoritized communities would come and they would be able to do fun stuff with teachers who are in training. But during the pandemic, obviously we had to shut down our in-person labs, but I created a virtual remote version of the lab. And so it's called speculative because it's about like looking towards the future, like speculative fiction, right? And trying to imagine a future beyond the pandemic. And fabulation comes from the word fabulation, which means to tell a story, but also to kind of like do it through creation. And so the main core activities of the Fabulation Lab is that we sent making and tinkering kits to kids to their homes, circuit kits and like drawing supplies and so on. And then via Zoom, they would connect with the teacher and they would do fun making and tinkering activities. And I also created I coded my own, what's it called? Like a enclosed network, like a Facebook, but only for the kids so that they would be protected and they would share their projects on that network as well.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're opening the season 2 launch call for entries for the Anthem Awards next week as an esteemed judge as part of our community. Talk about what are you most looking forward to seeing projects and stuff from around the world?
Oh my goodness! If I could just say that judging for the Webbies and the Anthems is like such an amazing experience. I have stories of like sitting on the couch with my headphones and my husband sitting next to me trying to read a book, and then me screaming like, "Oh my God, what's wrong?" I was like, "Oh my God, this project is amazing." So I'm just looking forward to seeing some of the great work that organizations and individuals have been doing during what really is not a real back to normal yet, right? Like, I don't know what the real back to normal. Oh, excuse you. Hey, I'm the one speaking.
Aww.
She's like, I'm tired of your talking. Okay, look this way. There was a helicopter.
Great.
So I'm just excited about, to see what people are doing during to kind of recover from this really traumatic experiences that we've been having as a community, and so on. What I appreciate about the Anthem Awards in particular is that there's so much hope and possibility that there's like, at the same time as we're critiquing what's happening in the world, and we're sitting with and grieving with the messed up things that are happening, there's always a design element to it, right? That we're always designing towards something new. And that's what I really appreciate about what I see in the Anthem Awards, and the people who were recognized this past year obviously represent that. So I'm just looking forward to it. I hope to again sit on the couch and and see what people are doing.
I know. I mean, it's to be told too. It's like, that's part of why I love doing this series, because it's just a weekly reminder that there are people all over the world who really genuinely care about making the world a better place, and are working on all kinds of issues from all kinds of different perspectives and places and approaches. And it's just like a really beautiful reminder of the great world that is out there. And as you said, as we're kind of like navigating this weird in-between space where like it's kind of normal, it's kind of not, we don't know what the new kind of world is going to be like. So
Yeah.
So thank you. Okay, and then final thoughts. Where can people find you? Anything, any other resources or links you want to share?
Yeah, so of course you can find my work. If you're interested in me, you can go to drthembot.com. And I'm gonna track the traffic. So I'm sure I'm gonna see more traffic on Rupaul with the W.com than on my website. Or if you go to my website, we'll probably click on the link to go to Rupaul's website. But yes, you can find all links to all my work are at my website, drthembot.com, and our little doggy's website is Rupaul with the W.com. And yeah, we'll see. We're gonna keep experimenting and trying new stuff and look for more.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you so much for all of the work that you do, and thank you, Rupaul.
Thank you, and keep up the good work. Looking forward to seeing all the work that you amplify. You all are doing amazing work as well.
Thanks for saying so. So everyone out there, thank you for joining us today. We'll be launching the next call for entries for the second annual Anthem Awards on Tuesday, June 14th. We are going to have so many events. Anyone who's in the New York City area, we're having a launch party on Wednesday. Please come join us. But we're going to be having York, in London, in LA, and San Francisco, and Atlanta, and DC, all throughout the season. So please follow us on social and check out our website, anthemawards.com. And thank you, everyone. Have an amazing and safe and wonderful weekend.
Thank you. Be well. Bye-bye.